What's going on, everyone? This is Nate the Great coming to you live from the All Sports All Plays Network. This is the Thursday Full Count, and I am here with Ray and Greg. How are the both of you doing again?
Doing well, Nate. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We get ready to get
Yeah,
this show on the road.
yeah. As we three of us are doing some shares, we also have some housekeeping business that we got to take care of. Um, First off, we'll go with Suzanne Paparazzi's jewelry.
Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us, from all of us here at the ASAP Network.
And we also have the Misty Meadows. Okay, I keep saying this, but we do have a comment right here from Brandon Herrera. Hey, Thursday night, rookie ball, full count crew, LOL. If we're the rookies, then y'all are the high school crew. But like what Brandon Herrera just did right there, trying to come at us. If you're out there in the comment section and you want to win a free T-shirt, all you have to do is like the show, comment the show, and be engaged in the show. At the end of the month, we tally up all the comments, and the person that enters in the most comments wins a free T-shirt. But say for a second that you're out there driving, you missed it, or whatever the case is, and you still want a T-shirt. That's fine. That's totally fine. Just message me, message Ray, message Greg, message anybody else on the ASAP network, and all you have to do is pay $14.99 plus shipping and handling. Sizes go from small to 2XL. If you want a 3XL shirt, that's fine. It's just $1 an extra. No big deal. But let's go ahead and let's get into our topics as I read another comment from Brandon Herrera. Hey, Twins today had a sack bunt in the game. He's pretty happy because they beat the Boston Red Sox today, I think 3-2. But let's go to our original top five. We've done the entire. We've covered one division already. Now we're gonna go into another one. We're actually going to go cover the Chicago Cubs. We'll go with Greg first. What are your top five pitchers for the Chicago Cubs team?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a very tough list. He has some phenomenal pitching, especially in the early 1900s when they were on fire and winning a couple championships. But I really like this list because you got some really good names in there. I mean, really, really good names that I'd never really heard of. First, you got a guy named Charlie Root. I don't know if anybody's really familiar with the name Charlie Root, but Charlie Root was he's more famous for being on the opposing end of Babe Ruth's so-called called shot, when he hit that bomb out of center field in the World Series. So he was kind of on the wrong side of that one. But, yeah, he played 15 years for the Cubs. He gave them a lot of innings. He pitched over 3,000 innings for the Cubs in his 15-year span. He had 21 career shutouts. I think he won like 26 games or so back in 1927. So he was a steady force for him on the diamond for the Cubs back in the 20s and up to the early 40s. Another catchy name out there is a guy named Mordecai Three Fingers Brown. Quick stat on Mordecai Three Fingers Brown is he was involved in a bizarre farming accident when he was a kid. and he lost 2 fingers on his throwing hand, but that didn't stop him from becoming an elite force on the mound. He won even with only 3 functional fingers on his pitching hand. He still won 20 games in 6 straight seasons, 20 games or more from 1906 to 1911. So he, he had a earned run average of 1.8, and he had a whip of 0.98. So a phenomenal pitcher, even with a disability, losing his 2 fingers. He was still a great success for the Cubs.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to put the score up there. Go ahead.
Okay, now another great name. I mean, this Chicago Cubs lineup is full of great names. We got a guy named Hippo Vaughn. You heard that right? Hippo Vaughn. Okay, they called him Hippo Vaughn because he had an extremely large frame, especially for a pitcher. He gave them about 300 innings a season from 1913 to 1921. He led his team to 20 wins in 5 seasons. So another steady presence, 20 wins for 5 seasons, not in a row, but for 5 of those seasons. And he was a leader in ERA in 1918 with a 1.74 mark. So Hippo Vaughn, even with his large frame, was still getting it done out there in the early teens to early 20s, 1920s. Okay, these last 2, I'm going to put Greg Maddux in there because I think that Greg Maddux kind of, sealed his fate more with the Atlanta Braves than with the Cubs, but he was still an excellent pitcher for the Cubs. He was a Cy Young winner for the Cubs before he even got sent over to the Braves. But Greg Maddux, steady presence, excellent command, not a guy that could bring the heat, but he always had pinpoint control, had excellent control over the strike zone. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better guy out there every single game. Didn't give up a lot of home runs, and he won 4 Cy Young awards in 4 consecutive years. So, I think he finished in Chicago, I think, when he finished his career, but he was a great presence for the Cubs, and it was sad to see him go, get traded to the Braves, but I'm sure that Ray's okay with that.
Yes, I was.
and then of course we got the legendary Fergie Jenkins. Okay, played 7 seasons with the Cubs. He managed to get 20 wins in 6 straight seasons. Ferguson Jenkins, I think he totaled 167 career wins for Chicago and has 284 in total. So 167 wins. Spread out over 7 seasons. That's phenomenal pitching. Legendary pitcher, great guy, Hall of Famer. We got a few Hall of Famers on this list, and so that's who I got in my 5-1 for the Cubs.
Yeah. Just give you an update. This is over the Washington Nationals. Who not only are they giving up 10 runs and just being the 3rd inning. But this is the same Washington Nationals team that gave up 14 runs a couple days ago against the St. Louis Cardinals. So they're not doing well on the defensive side. They're not doing well on the pitching side lately either. So going back to on topic, Ray, what are your top 5 pitchers for the Chicago Cubs?
Well, I'm about to go, not trying to go over everything that Greg just went over. He picked up most of my guys anyway. I had Greg Maddux up there at number 1 myself, as just a Greg Maddux fan. So I'm going to do a little bit different route here. We're going to talk about Lon Warkey from 1930 to 1936, 1942 to 43, and 1945. He pitched at 1932 years of age of 22, burst onto the scene in his first full season for the Cubs by supporting a 22-6 record in the majors. Best ERA is 2.37. That earned him runner-up honors for the National League MVP. More success followed in 1934 on his way to his first of 220 win campaign. Warwick began the season with a back-to-back no one hitter, with the first of which came within 2 outs of the being a no hitter. So I mean, Warwick was adapted with the glove, setting a record since broken for most consecutive games played by a pitcher without committing an error. So he was a good fielding pitcher also for the Cubs. I went with Claude Pascal. He never dominated, but always reliable. Pascal was the underrated Winston contributor for the Cubs. Never finished below 500 until his final campaign in 1947. He pitched from 1939 to 1947 for the Cubs. He was winning. It was a relief for Pascal, spurred to life in Chicago after spending the first 3 years of his career saddled with the losing team in the high ERAs with the Phillies, with Philadelphia Phillies. So I mean, he was he was a sinker that all opponents often gambled to be a spitter in disguise. So he was an exceptional deception pitcher. Everybody thought he was pitching a sinker, but it looked like a splitter, you know. So I think he did pretty good there. Let me see who else. And like I said, I had Fergus Jenkinson and I had Greg Maddux. So that was my 5 right there. So
Shout out to Greg Maddux out there for everything he's done. But I have him at number 9. So number 5, I have Claude Pascal, the underrated guy. He pitched from 1939 to 1947. He was always reliable. He was the underrated win-some contributor for the Cubs, never finishing below 500 until his final year, 1947. And then he played sparingly and with pain. He was hurt. The winning for relief for Pascal spurred to life in Chicago after spending first 3 years of his career saddled with with losing teams and high ERAs in Philadelphia with the then Wobegon Phillies. So that's my number 5 is Pascal. Number 4, I'm actually going to go farther back in time. He pitched from 1926 to 1941. Charlie Root. He will forever be known as the man who served up to Babe Ruth's called shot in the 1932 World Series. A home run, he insists, that will never be preordained by Ruth. He shortly before he passed, unfortunately. So he said shortly before his passing that Ruth accidentally called the shots. He would have knocked the Yankee start on his butt. Then the next pitch, rather than having it down in the middle. He had a couple of stats. He had 201 victories over a 16-year career in Chicago. His best year actually came in 1927. Led the majors in 26 wins and 15 losses. Threw over 300 innings for the only time in his career. He also had a sharp 19-6 record in 1929. Produced a career low of 2.6 ERA in 1933. which was his final year as a full-time starter with the Cubs. Well, game update. Rangers have a 3-1 lead. I'm listening to it right now while the show's going on. So going back on topic, number 3. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Warnicki. Alan Warnicki. He pitched. He had 3 stints with the Chicago Cubs. 1930 to 1936, 1942 to 1943, and 1945. When he was 22 years old, Warnicki came to he had in his first full season, which was 22 years old. He had a 22-6 record and had the major's best ERA of a 2.37 that earned in him runner-up for honors for the NL MVP. More success quickly followed. 1934, on his way to win 20 campaigns, Warnicki began the season with back-to-back one hitters, which the first came with the first of them within 2 outs, being a no-hitter. So this actually came in late in the game, towards the 9th inning. Warnicki was great with the glove, setting a record since which has been broken since then for the most consecutive games played by a pitcher without completing an error. His record shortly slipped to a 16-13 1936. The Cubs then moved him to St. Louis for Ripper Collins in a deal that did not go great for Chicago. Although Warnicki remained great, most of his success came with Chicago. Number 2, Hippo Vaughn. Again, going back actually to the year 1913. He pitched from 1913 to 1921. After bouncing around from the American League, then to the minors for 5 years, Vaughn was given a chance by the Cubs, and he did great immediately, becoming the team workhorse throughout the 1910s, averaging close to 300 innings annually over a 7-year span. He was nicknamed Hippo for a bulky frame which grew larger as the years go on. Vaughn was a 5-time 20-game winner in Chicago and was best remembered for participating in the famous 1917 double no-hitter in which he and Cincinnati's Fred Tooney each threw hitless ball for 9 innings, and then Vaughn finally conceded offense in the 10th inning and losing 1-0. Number 1, Mordecai Three-Finger Brown. He had 2 stints with the Chicago Cubs, which you guys talked a lot about him, so I won't touch a lot, but he pitched from 1904 to 1912, and then pitched again in 1916. He was, may have been known as the Freak, but it's Brown, his pitching hand in childhood farming accident. He was winning 20-plus games over 6 straight years, producing a 1.04 ERA in 1906 and the lowest in modern NL history, finishing a career with a 2.06 ERA and the major's third lowest since 1900. Brown won the bragging rights over Christy Matheson for taking a 13-11 record in head-to-head matchups against the New York Giants, which is now known as the San Francisco Giants. All right, so that is my top 5. Speaking of top 5, we'll do the next set, and out of the games that happened last week, Ray, we'll go with you first. What are your top 5 teams that played that you thought played for last week? And just editing the score right now, Ray. Ray, I can't hear you. Okay, sorry for the technical difficulty, everybody. Greg,
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I'll go. My first one would be the Boston Red Sox, even though they lost today, 4-3 against Minnesota. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They've been playing very good ball. They are the surprise team right now in the American League East because I had them around the 4th place team in that division. They're 9-4. They're actually leading the American League East division. They're actually doing pretty better on the road than they are at home. They're 3-3 at home. They're 6-1 on the road. So I mean, Boston has been picking it up here since that loss to the Orioles. They've been on a 9-1 run here the last 10 games. I'll go with the my second one will be the Los Angeles Dodgers. They are also 9-1 streak going here. They're 10-2. They got the best record in Major League Baseball right now. World's champion. They're 10-2. They're 5-0 at home, 5-2 on the road. So they are on a 5-game winning streak right now. My other one would be the New York Yankees. Might be my third. No, New York Mets will be my third. They're actually leading the National League East division. I thought the Braves would be this time be leading the division, but they're in 4th place. So that baseball as it goes right now in the beginning of the season. We still early. We still in that first month of baseball. So I mean, we still got a lot of games to go and teams to be picked up. But New York Mets are on a 3-game winning streak. They're 4-1 at home, 1-2 on the road. I have to give it up to Kansas City. Kansas City is actually they're doing pretty good. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They were on a 2-game winning streak, but they're doing something that I didn't think they were going to do. They're actually leading the American League Central Division, 6-4, 6 wins, 4 losses. They got a game up on the Cleveland Indians, 2 games up on the Detroit Tigers, and then the team. The 2 teams I thought it was going to be the number 1 and number 2. Minnesota be number 1, 6-7 in that division. And Chicago White Sox, I had them going in number 2 in that division. They're 6-7 also. So they're 3-4. They're supposed to be 1 and 2, and they're 3-4. So you got to give it up to Kansas City. They're doing pretty good in their division. So my 5th one would be the I have to give it Cincinnati Reds. They're 6-4. They're on a 2-game losing streak right now, but they tied with Milwaukee. I had them. I had Milwaukee. I had Chicago up number 1 and St. Louis number 2, but St. Louis is sitting there at number 3 and Chicago is sitting there at number 4. So that's my hot teams for this week.
Greg, we'll go with you.
All right. My hot teams for this week, I got the Kansas City in there. We've talked about them a little bit before in weeks past about how at least you and I did, Nate, about how we thought that the Royals were actually going to put up a fight in the division this year, and it looks like they're set to do just that. They got some good bats, they got some decent pitching, and they're pretty competitive. They won their last couple games. They've been pretty steady. They're 4-2 at home, 2-2 away. So right now they're a little bit on top of their division, just ahead of Cleveland. But it's still early. But Kansas City, one of my surprise teams, I think is going to actually do pretty good this season and give a lot of contention in that division. Then we got the Boston Red Sox. They're playing better away than they are at home. They're 3-3 at home and 6-1 on the road. So they're playing excellent baseball away from Fenway. And they lost the other night. But they're playing pretty good. This division is kind of surprising because here I thought it was going to be pretty much a 2-horse race between the Yankees and the Blue Jays, and then the Rays maybe mixed in there. So I thought that Boston was going to kind of maybe end up closer to like 4th place, but right now they're holding in there pretty well. They've almost won 70% of their games. So Boston's another team that we talked about that that we thought that they might compete a little bit harder than we thought. They do have pretty good depth in their lineup, at least through the first 5 hitters. They're waiting on getting a little bit more healthy pitching, but yeah, they're a team to look out for, especially at this early in the season. The Mariners are playing pretty good ball. They've won a couple in a row. I see them all the time on the local channel here. They play a lot of Mariners and Giants games around here. So Seattle, they're putting up a good fight. They're 8-5. They won their last couple games. They're also playing better on the road than they are at home. They're 5-2 away and 3-3 at home. So they're finding out ways to win, especially on the road, which is something that the Mariners over the past several seasons haven't been able to figure out how to do. They've usually been a better home team. So things are looking good right now for the Mariners. Then we got Big Dog Hyman's New York Mets, who we predicted would be, close to the top or at the top of that division. They're playing good ball. They're getting excellent pitching. They've won 3 in a row. They got off to a slow start because they had some coronavirus issues and everything. So they're a little bit behind on their season with only 8 games played, but they're starting to pick it up, and they've won 3. They're playing a lot better at home than they are away, but they're still getting some big wins out there. Then probably the toughest division in all of baseball, because you got about 4 teams that it could basically go to, is the Central, and you pretty much have a tie with Cincinnati and Milwaukee, but I give Cincinnati the edge. Over there, they're playing pretty good ball. They're kind of hit and miss though. Sometimes their offense is hot, and sometimes they're extremely cold. So if they can get their bats warmed up, I think that Cincinnati is going to be, if they can get consistent more presence in their lineup, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But one night they might put up like 10 to 12 runs, another night they might put up like 1. So it's just kind of hit and miss over there in Cincinnati. But right now they're playing pretty good baseball. And then of course the Dodgers, they won 5 in a row. They're looking pretty unstoppable right now. They had a very poor first game against Nate's Rockies, but they've seemed to pick it up right after that loss. They've won 5 in a row, and they just that lineup is nonstop. I mean, you got Seager, Bellinger, all these guys are just tearing it up. I mean, there's not really a weak spot in that lineup, and they have probably the deepest pitching staff in all of baseball right now. So those are my hot teams.
As for me, my top 5 teams of the week, I'll probably go with Dodgers number 1. They're the only team to have 10 wins as of right now. Boston's number 2. Until today, they were the last undefeated away team to play away, so they're number 2. And number 3, this might come to a surprise to some people. I know you talked about it already earlier to Greg, but I'm actually going to go with Seattle. The Seattle Mariners is my number 3. My number 4 is gonna have to go with the Royals. And then my number 5 will have to go to New York Mets. So winners and losers. We'll go to that next topic. Winners and losers of this week. As for me, I think there's been a lot of high scoring baseball games lately. Today alone, Diamondbacks are up 10-4, and they scored all of that in just 2 innings. So pitching staff has not been great. And pitching has not been great for the Nationals, really. But also for the Braves when they pitch against the Miami Marlins. What are your thoughts? Like, what do you think is like the key of this week? Ray.
To me, my my Braves right now are struggling. Aguna is the only positive they have in that lineup right now. Freeman came through when I was up there on the April 9th game. He hit a home run. He had a good series against the Phillies in the home series there. I think the floodgates came open here in the last few games due to that missed call in that Phillies Sunday night game. I found replays online showing that guy never touched the plate going in. They called him a save. I think that opened up a floodgate for the Braves to go in the last few games here. Their pitching is not being stellar like it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be improved from last year. It's still not improved from last year. They're still struggling right now. I know it's early. The 1 through 9 hitter, I mean, the first hitter, the leadoff guy, he's been good. He's been great. I mean, he's the one carrying the Braves right now. He's leading off that guy. He's leading off. He's batting over 400, .425, I think he's batting right now. And the other downfall here is, how bad the Yankees have been playing. 5-7. They're in 4th place right now. They only, Baltimore's behind them by a game. So, and then you got to take the positives. You got Boston Red Sox playing. Minnesota did beat Boston Day 4-3. But, Boston just come out of nowhere. I mean, we thought it was dead. I wonder if it's because they got their manager back, Alex Cora. He could have been, the manager last year wasn't making the right moves. Maybe Alex Cora is making the right moves right now. Got that team in first place in the American League East. But I'm right now watching the Kansas City Royals and the Toronto Blue Jays game. Kansas City up 1-0 right now. They've been playing good. It's just been good baseball from unexpected teams. I mean, if you look at even though Pittsburgh's in last place, they have more wins than what I thought they would have at this time. Yeah. They're 5-8. They're dead last place in the Central Division, and they only lost one. They didn't last they're 4-6 in the last thing, but people think they were going to win over 40 games. They've off to a pretty good start for them. I expected them to be like 1-13. 1-12. That's what my thought was after looking at their schedules. But they picked up 5 wins. Another surprise team, the Washington National. I thought the Washington National, be a little bit better than what they were. But look at the scores right now. They've been getting up over double-figure runs here in the last few games. So I mean, baseball's like I said, baseball normally is a tradition. It's like you start off slow and you try to pick up your pace, in the around June, July time frame, get yourself, but you don't want to get too far behind. And that's what I'm scared that's what the Braves are doing right now. They're 5 games behind New York Mets. So, I mean, to right now, the really low for me is my Atlanta Braves. So,
yeah. For me, I already talked about the high scoring games. But they're another highlight just to brag on my team a little bit. Even though the record that they have is probably what I would expect, who they beat was not a shocker to me at all. One, who they beat was a shocker. Let me reiterate that they're up 3-1 over Tampa right now, and if we win this, we win the series 3-1. And we play probably the team that has the worst record in the AL. So we're on a good pace, but at the same time, it is still pretty early. Now we'll go to Greg next on this. What are some of your highlights for this week?
Well, I mean, as expected, we weren't expecting too much out of the Rockies this year. They do have two marquee talents that I think at least one of them will be moved by the trade deadline. They got Trevor Story and Herman Marquez, who's a really good pitching prospect that any team would love to have, and he'd probably love to get out of Colorado. But yeah, they're 3-9. But an interesting thing about that is they only have a 11-run differential, so they've been playing pretty competitive. They just haven't been able to squeak out these close games, so they haven't been really outscored by a ton, but they still have a very weak record. So I mean, they came out hot first game against the Dodgers, really took it to the Dodgers, but then after that they've just really gone downhill. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that in 9 losses, they've only been outscored overall by 11 runs, says that they're trying to stay pretty competitive. I just don't think that they have enough really going on. As well, the Pirates are 5-8. They just had a bad injury to their top prospect and potential rookie of the year, Kayvon Hayes, that is going to set him back a while. And I don't know if the Pittsburgh Pirates are really going to have enough pop really to stay competitive without him in the lineup, because he was probably their best hitter and their best offensive option. You know, he's a tremendous defensive player and he has a great bat. So I think that the Pittsburgh Pirates are probably going to start sliding big time pretty soon now, because they don't really have a lot of great options at third base to back him up in his absence. I'm not completely surprised yet with the Nationals. I kind of have this game on right now. I thought that the Nationals might be a little bit better just because they have 3 very strong pitchers. But yeah, their offense just isn't getting anything done for them right now. So they're off to a pretty slow start.
I mean, Steven Strasburg was the guy that pitched was their starting pitcher when they gave up 14 runs against the Cardinals.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you see a performance like that out of Strasburg, which is completely uncharacteristic, and he's just out there getting shelled, I mean, that's a bad sign. You know, even if it is an off game or something like that, that's a bad sign when you got the ace of your staff get that hard, especially this early on in a long season. Another team that's kind of surprising me, because all the baseball writers and everybody were high on the Astros, thinking they were going to run away with the AL West, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I kind of thought that the Angels were going to take that division, and they're playing decent ball, but the Astros, they've lost 5 in a row. I don't know exactly what's going on, because even at 6-6, they have a run differential of plus 11, so they're hitting the ball well, but they're just not I don't know, they're losing some games and so at 6-6 they were off to a really great start at 6-1, and they've lost their last 5. So I thought they'd be a little bit better than 6-6 right now, so they're kind of on a slide. And then here we thought that the White Sox were going to be the hot team, and they haven't really came out sizzling yet. So I know the season's still early, but I was expecting a little bit more the White Sox at this time. I thought that 13 games in the season, they'd probably have like closer to like 8 or 9 wins, but they're stuck on 6 right now. So I think that's my hot takes on the season right now is you just got a little bit of teams that are underperforming like the White Sox and the Yankees, and of course the Astros, and then the teams that, are where we thought they were going to be, like the Rockies and the Pirates, are playing pretty competitive. But I think that probably within the next month or so, everything's going to get back to kind of how we kind of predicted things were going to end up.
Okay. Now, Greg, you wanted to bring this up. You posted it in the group chat, so I'm actually going to give you the ropes on this segment, but I'll just read the question off as soon as I could find it. I lost it because okay. You said that you think that the first umpire Jim Joyce ridiculous call that cost Armando a perfect game. So can you take the ropes on this and explain a little bit more about that?
Well, in 2010, Armando Galarraga pitched probably one of the greatest games of all time. He threw only 88 pitches and he retired 28 batters, but one of them technically counted as a hit because the umpire on the last out of the game called the runner safe at first. So it ended up turning into a 28 at bat, 1-hit shutout, even though clear review of the play showed that the runner was definitely out by a good 2 feet. And Jim Joyce has stated over the past 10 years that he made a mistake. He blew the call. He feels really bad because no perfect game would have basically put Armando Galarraga, even though he was only 24 and 26 over his career and played for 4 teams, that would have put him in immortality because perfect game has only happened about 25 or 26 times total in all of baseball history, Major League Baseball history. So I kind of feel like if there was any call over the span of baseball's history, that would definitely be one call that I think that Major League Baseball should be interested in overturning, even though, usually when things are in the books, they're in the books. And I understand that. And I know that, 10 years later, it's not going to feel the same as if, it would have been a perfect game, 10 years ago when it happened. So it was just kind of like the excitement and all the air just got sucked out with that poor call. And I know that 10 years ago, they didn't have the instant replay that they have in play now. But if you go back and look at that tape, I mean, the runner was clearly out. Jim Joyce feels terrible. He's admitted 100 times that he made the wrong call and everything. But one great thing about it is that Armando Galarraga kind of smiled and shrugged it off. And apparently him and Jim Joyce are friends now. And great sportsmanship. I don't think that Armando Galarraga got on there and said, what a bad ump and what a bad call, that was. So he took it in stride and handled it with grace and everything. But I do think that he got hosed out of immortality. He wasn't a great pitcher by any means, but he pitched a great game, 88 pitches, through to 28 different batters. So I don't know. I just feel like if there's one call out there that could be reversed, that would be mine, because that was, those don't come along all that often.
Okay. I do. I kind of agree. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have been questionable, like that earlier in the season. I think it was Rockies Dodgers. I think it was actually opening night when Colorado, there was like a infield home run out. There's been a lot of questionable calls within just in this last couple of seasons alone. Anyway, so we'll go in this is the last topic of the night, and I don't know what to name this topic. Maybe this is just an idea to throw out there. Maybe like a weekly segment or something. But it is a Major League Baseball quiz. Now, I found something out on Messenger that you could actually message Major League Baseball for them to quiz you. So even I don't even know these questions except for the first one. And if you get 3 strikes, you're out. So it's like 3 strikes, you're out, but with questions.
So just call it Baseball Jeopardy.
Yeah, Baseball Jeopardy. Let me find it real quick.
That's interesting.
MLB. Okay, hold on. This might be for not for a little bit because okay. So the first question is which player back in 2013 did Pedro Alvarez share the National League home run title with? In 2013, which player in the National League did Pedro Alvarez share the title with? Does anybody? Ray, do you have an idea?
Not offhand.
So
That stumped me right there.
there's 3 questions.
Sure, what title?
It's a multiple choice. 3 questions. 3 choices. Paul Goldschmidt, Jay Bruce, and Giancarlo Stanton.
National League, standing and playing in the National League. Yeah, he did play with the Marlins in 2013. I'll go with Stanton.
Are you going with Stanton as well?
Well, you didn't mention what title did he share? What's the title that he shared?
The National
League home run.
National League home run.
Giancarlo Stanton, I believe.
Okay. And Paul Goldschmidt, that's strike 1. Ozzie Smith, known as the Wizard, won how many consecutive Gold Glove awards? Greg?
I think he won
The
8.
choices are 13, 4, or 7.
7, I think.
Ray?
7.
Okay. Whoa, strike 2.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. 12.
It was 13. It was 13.
13.
Okay.
13.
Which Pittsburgh Pirate was the first to hit a ball on the fly to Allegheny River? Choices are Josh Bell, Pedro Alvarez, or Garrett Jones.
Josh Bell.
That's a good question. I'll say Josh Bell myself.
Okay. Wow. Game over. Strike 3. Okay. So that ends the baseball Jeopardy segment. Any final thoughts before we give this a close? We'll go with Ray.
Okay, well, like I said, this is the start of the season. First month of the season's almost coming. We're about 15 days into the 13 days into the league. We see some teams are struggling that we thought was going to be in the top, like the Atlanta Braves, the New York Yankees, Chicago White Sox. But I like to go back to my time. Going back to see actual baseball live and in a stadium. It was an awesome time. I met some people that were sitting around me. I met a nice, Philadelphia Philly fan. He wasn't, how you got some Wade fans who come up, and just be like really talkative. And, this guy wasn't, I can remember everything he said to me. He said, we swept you, but, you came back and you fighting here against the thing. But at the end of the night, we shared a few beers together and talked some baseball, and we came across some common grounds. And the common ground I wanted to say is, I think Pete Rose needs to go into the Hall of Fame, and I will stand by that all the way to my grave. I know he probably won't go in there while he's still living. He'll eventually probably end up going in when he's passed away, which I think is totally wrong. To me, I grew up in that age watching Pete Rose play, Charlie Hustle. That was him and the Braves. They had good series when he was with the Phillies. Murphy, the matchup was Murphy, and all the headlines was Dale Murphy, and Pete Rose. That was the headlines back when the Braves and Phillies play. And I have much respect for Pete Rose. I know what he did was wrong. It was against baseball bylaws. I understand that, but I mean, he's human. Everybody bets. Everybody going to go to Vegas and they're going to bet. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that what he did, but to me, I think it's just time. I think he paid his price. I think it's just time for him to go in, and I wish you to put him in while he's still living so we can hear his speech.
Okay. Greg?
Well, after watching the first few weeks of baseball, it's pretty clear why baseball and sports in general is so beautiful. Because, I mean, when it comes to baseball or any sport, we can pick up a baseball almanac. We can pick up the USA Today. We can read all we want about projections and the prospects and how teams are going to finish and what their projected records are and everything. But when it's all said and done, that doesn't mean anything. Just because a writer thinks that, some team's going to be, win 110 games or lead this division or what, you still have to go out and perform. It's one thing to read, the early projections of how teams are going to finish and what their records are going to be and everything. But we're seeing right now that there's a lot of teams that we kind of overlooked or just kind of didn't really give much of a second glance to. And they're competing very hard and they're competing very well. And I think it's going to be an exciting season. I don't think that most of these divisions, I don't think any team's just going to run away with it. I know it's early. Teams like the Braves are probably going to get a hot streak. They're going to, their pitching is going to come together. They're going to, some of these teams are going to come along as expected, and some teams may underperform. But that's the beauty of a sport like baseball is that, nothing's set in stone. Just because one team's projected to be the top team, there's injuries, there's all kinds of things that could happen. There's batting slumps, there's pitching slumps, all kinds of things that can happen in baseball. And that's the beauty of this sport is, a team that might be projected last could end up working their way into first or second in their division. It's just all depends on how well you're playing at a certain given time. And that's what I love about baseball and in sports in general is predictions mean nothing. You have to go out there and earn it. You have to go out there and perform and play hard, and anything can happen. Even with the worst of projected teams, everybody's got a shot during the season if they can put something together. So, and that's what I'm looking forward to for the rest of the season is some tight races and a lot of great competition out there.
All right. So as my last final thoughts, I'll give a couple of live updates. Bottom is the bottom of the fifth. Arizona Diamondbacks are above the Washington Nationals 10-4. And top of the sixth right now, Texas Rangers are above the Tampa Bay Rays, and the third one is the Kansas City Royals are above the Toronto Blue Jays 3-0 at the end of the third. All right, so this has been Nate the Great, Ray Cruz, and Greg Galliano signing out as soon as I pulled the video. There.